Hi students, how are you? I'm here rocking my Cha Phoenix sweatshirt. And as you know, we just finished learning about Tsar Nicholas, poor Tsar Nicholas II, who was the Tsar of Russia until he was assassinated in 1918. And now we're going to be learning about this guy, Joseph Stalin. Okay, so I'm going to read the document with you and then ask you some questions. And so I'm going to turn off my webcam now and we'll start reading. So this article, it's about it's about Joseph Stalin. And the title is From Tsar to Dictator, Russia under Joseph Stalin. So he was the leader that took over. We just learned about Tsar Nicholas II, an unpopular leader who led Russia into World War I, was forced to give up his throne, and was eventually executed. They killed him. We will now read about Joseph Stalin. World War I, often abbreviated as World War I, WWI or WW1, also known as the First World War or the Great War, was a global war that started in Europe and lasted from the 28th of July, 1914 to the 11th of November, 1918. World War I was a disaster for Russia. It caused death and famine, with millions of people dying because of the violence or dying from starvation. It's terrible. They either died from the war or died from starvation. Muriendo de hambre. Many Russians blamed this on the Tsar's leadership. As we learned, this led Lenin and the Bolsheviks to start the Communist Revolution of 1917. So we read about that, the Communist Revolution of 1917. When Lenin died in 1923, Joseph Stalin, this guy here, Joseph Stalin, took over the revolution. So let's read the little text box here, or the caption. Joseph Stalin was a cruel dictator who led the Soviet Union from the mid-1920s to 1953. So Stalin started his policy of 5-year plans to raise production in the factories, as well as agricultural production, by creating collective farms. To do this, he took all the land back from the peasants that Lenin had given to peasants, as he had promised in his Peace, Land, and Bread speech at the beginning of the revolution. So Joseph took all the land back from the peasants that Lenin had given to the peasants. And starting back here. With collectivization, Stalin would have the peasants use mechanical machines and modern improvements to increase farm and food production. So now we're on our second page, and I joined you again because I wanted to talk to you about Stalin's cruelty. Cruelty in Spanish, is crueldad. And so he did so many cruel things to the Russian people during his reign. One of them was the gulags and mass murder. Okay, so we're going to read about that on this page. Stalin's cruelty to common Russian people, gulags, and mass murder. The kulaks, is just the Russian word for peasant, campesino, on the farms, and the workers in the work camps were treated like slaves. The ones who resisted were sent to gulags, work camps, or shot. And you can see the pictures of the people working here in the work camps, working very hard. And here is a picture of the people being shot. They had been shot by Joseph Stalin's police. Okay, back here. Millions died in these camps, and 4 to 10 million also died on the collective farms. The Gulag's primary purpose was to gain control of the population through fear. through fear by imprisoning, torturing, torturando, and killing, matando, critics of communism and anyone who defied Stalin. So that word defied just means to not agree to do what he's saying, or to say, I don't agree with you. Here we are. More than 3.7 million Soviet citizens were forced into the camps, many in the coldest and most remote areas of the country, so the areas that were very far away from main Russia. About 1.5 million people died in the gulags between 1930 and 1956. The kulaks tried to resist by burning crops and farms and killing their animals instead of giving their farms and supplies back to Stalin. However, by 1928, Stalin had the Soviet Union well under his control. And here, the caption here says, the Gulag was a system of forced labor camps established during Joseph Stalin's long reign as dictator of the Soviet Union. Terrible. Okay, so now we're on the third page. Now here we're talking about Stalin's cruelty to communist leaders who did not agree with him. So the previous page was about cruelty to common people. This is about cruelty to communist leaders who no estaban de acuerdo con él. All right. In 1934, the Soviets and the party members would hold a party meeting at the Congress of Victors to discuss the success of the five-year plans. The party members who disagreed with Stalin were killed. In 1938, the Communist Party under Stalin met again. So they met once in 1934, and they met again in 1938. The Communist Party under Stalin met again to discuss the progress of the five-year plans. At this meeting, they looked at the production numbers behind their five-year plans and bragged about the success. But at what cost? Millions of people had been destroyed by the communist system. So underline that. That's incredible. Millions of people had been destroyed by the communist system. They lost their lives and or jobs or farms due to the extreme working conditions in the gulags, executions, and famines. So famine is cuando las personas están muriendo de hambre. Okay? The idea of communism was that the people hold the power. La idea de comunismo era que la gente tiene el poder, not a king or one leader, no un rey o un líder, solamente un leader. So the question I'm asking here, did the people hold the power under Stalin? Were people's lives better under Stalin versus the Tsar or even Lenin? Were their lives better? ¿Estaban mejor sus vidas? Okay. Here, let's read over here, the Great Purge. So this is the Great Purge we're going to be reading about here. The Great Purge from 1936 to 1938 was by no means restricted to just government officials and military officers. It included many peasants, intellectuals, priests, old Bolsheviks, I'm reading here, former members of other political parties, vagrants, and even Americans who went to the Soviet Union to work during the Depression. Now, this information is from public domain. So here you see these guys are burying the bodies of all the people they killed. Many bodies. Están entumbando las personas que habían matado. Todos esos cuerpos de personas que habían matado durante el Great Purge de este año, de 1936 a 1938. Okay? Each region in the Soviet Union had representatives who came to this meeting to hear Stalin and the party speak. Each had seen the cost of Stalin's reforms and 5-year plans. They had seen the executions. Habían visto las personas matados. Deportations to gulags. Deportaciones a los gulags, a los campos de trabajar. And collectivization's failures. At the end of the meeting, they held elections or votes for office. Al fin de esta junta, ellos tuvieron elecciones o estaban votando por leaders, okay? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, moved it down a little bit. It says Stalin was shocked that many people did not vote for him. He looked at this like they were traitors or enemies of the revolution. Many did not agree with Stalin's totalitarian government and the total control he violently held over the Soviet people. No estaban de acuerdo con su manera de controlar violentamente todas las personas de Rusia. Okay? Okay, we're on the last page of our document. So here's the last paragraph. Stalin was extremely angry after the vote and immediately started executing or purging his so-called enemies. Many were shot outside of the meeting place right after the vote. This would continue for the next few years as Stalin killed millions more of the people who fought beside him in the 1917 revolution or were Communist Party members. Vamos a traducir eso porque eso es muy fuerte. Okay? Stalin mataba millones más de las personas que habían peleado a su lado en la revolución de 1917 o fueran líderes o miembros del Partido Comunista. Terrible. Okay. Also, Stalin killed millions more in the army and the navy, including many high-ranking officers. This would be an even worse action since Stalin would eventually have to go to war with Hitler and Japan. And he just killed almost everyone that ran his army and navy by 1939. In our next article, we will read about the methods that Stalin used to gain his total control over Russia. Okay, en este artículo estuvimos leyendo sobre tan malo fuera Stalin y qué hacía para matar tanta gente. Y es muy fuerte pensar en la habilidad de una persona matar tantas millones de personas. ¿Y por qué lo haría? ¿Por qué sentía que tenía que hacerlo? En el próximo artículo que vamos a leer sobre los métodos que usaba Stalin para tener control tan fuerte de su país. We're going to learn about the methods that Stalin used, his cruel methods that he used to have such control of his country. And I'll see you next time, next Tuesday. Thank you.